What do worldviews have to do with fossils? I submit to you that what you believe about where you come from has a whole lot to do with the way that you're going to live your life today, as well as where you may end up in the future. We need to have a proper understanding. We need to know how they get from this, from the fact, from the evidence, to this amazing story. See, the fiction is where the worldview comes in, the bias comes into play, and really affects the interpretation of evidence. You start off with a pile of bones. You start off with the evidence, you give it to a really good artist. The better the artist, the better the picture. The better the picture, the more convincing the story. Go to the museum, and I tell you what, went there 2 weeks ago, best, latest, greatest, most up-to-datest, and I didn't see any evidence for evolution in the bones. It was all over the walls. Man, it was a wonderful story, and I kept reading all this stuff, and then I'd look around, and it's like, okay, where's the bones? None. You see, it's in the fiction. It's in the artwork. It's in the reconstruction. Secular quote, everybody knows fossils are fickle. Bones will sing any song you want to hear. What's that mean? That means you can take the same bone, give it to 5 different people, and they will look at it and come to 5 different conclusions based on what their bias or presupposition is. Can I give you some evidence for it? Yeah, I will. But I want you to remember this. The next time you turn on TV, you watch a movie, you pick up a magazine, you go to a museum, the next time you see this wonderful evidence that evolution's a fact, everybody knows it, I want you to remember one thing. Wendy's. You're looking at me like I'm a nut. The next time you see this movie, you see the artwork, I want you to think of Wendy's. I'm going to date myself here. Most of you probably won't remember this, but I want you to remember to ask one question. Where's the beef? Remember that? You remember that? Clara, where's the beef? The next time you see this really cool artwork, I want you to think of, where's the beef? Show me the evidence. Don't give me the story. Don't give me the fluff. I want to see the bone. I want to see the real deal. That's what Christians should do. Isn't that what they did in Acts 17:11? Let's go back and study these things, see if they're true. You see, that's what we need to do. And when you start doing that, it's exciting to be a Christian. Because the evidence is not the problem. It's interpretation of evidence where we start running into the difficulties. But Carl, everybody knows that the fossils prove evolution. It's a fact. Everybody knows it. We just got to deal with it. Well, it's surprising with what everybody knows how sometimes it isn't necessarily true. Let's take a look at some of the evidence, quote unquote. Here it is, Discover Magazine. They found a pile of bones and they took it to 5 different scientists. There's this pile of bones. I didn't doctor this picture in any way. They took the pile of bones to 5 different scientists, and the first scientist looked at it and said, oh, wow, this is a wonderful bird. The next guy looked at it and said, oh, it's a transitional fossil between the dinosaurs and the birds. The next 3 looked at it and said, it's nothing more than a dinosaur. Do you see a problem there? What are the facts in this? The bones. The bones are the facts. Do you see where the problem comes into play? In the reconstruction, because in the reconstruction, that's where bias and presupposition take over, and that's where you end up with all kind of fiction. Learn to differentiate between fact and fiction. You're not going to be afraid of museums. You're not going to be afraid of movies. You're not going to be afraid of those things because you'll see right through them. Let's go to Earth Magazine. Guys, do you realize there's thousands of missing links? Thousands. They found the ultimate missing link. They found the first worm to grow legs. That's what they called it. I got to show it to you. There it is, you fundamentalist backwater hicks. How can you argue? How can you doubt against evolution? There it is, the first worm to grow legs. What's the question you're supposed to ask when you see artwork? Where's the beef? This is what? This is fiction. This is artwork. This is story. Show me the evidence. Because you see, what is this? Fact or fiction? What is it? It's fiction. It's reinterpretation. Now, watch this. Here you go. Here's the fact, right? I mean, we've got video of this thing. Hey, I turned on TV and I caught this. I couldn't believe it. There it is. Fact or fiction? You should still be looking for the beef. Show me the evidence, right? You can come up with great artwork. You can come up with great pictures. By the way, this is the coolest part of that whole Chicago Museum exhibit. This is the coolest part where they have the video and the big 3 screens and they have the video up there and it looks good. But all of it's fiction. It's fiction. Let's read what they have to say about the facts. The paleontologist portrait. What's a portrait? Artwork, thank you. Shows a rounded worm that was symmetrical from side to side, had something like a head. This worm contained 3 tissue layers, the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm, wrapping around the gut cavity. Wow, that's a good fossil. 3 tissue layers? The body also may have. When you start reading these publications, read with a critical eye. It's amazing how everybody knows evolution's a fact, but then you read the publications, we think and maybe, may have, supposedly, we believe. Housed a primitive heart, a blood and vascular system, and a cavity called a hemocoel that could fill with blood to aid respiration and bolster the body. Now that's an amazing fossil. Where are we? Show me the beef, right? Show me the evidence. I want to see that. Tissue layers, heart, lung. Whoa, show that to me. Valentine thinks we should be looking for the evidence here. Let's take a look. Here's the beef. I want you to see the beef. You ready for this? Investigators have found fossil burrows, fecal pellets, and scratches left in sediment by the very beginning of limbs. Did you catch the evidence there? Fossil burrows, fecal pellets, and scratches on a rock. And from that, they got tissue layers, blood, lung, heart. Wow! You fundamentalist hicks, how can you argue against it? Take a look, see? See? Here, let me blow it up for you. There you go. You see it now? You don't think bias is involved with that? You don't think presupposition worldview is impacting the way that they understand evidence? You know, I'm being a little bit unkind here. A little bit unkind because I didn't read you the rest of the quote. So I'm going to read you the rest of the quote because you see, these aren't just normal scratches on a rock. These are very special. These marks look like they were made by what Valentine calls something that was smarter than your average flatworm. So you see, they're not just scratches on a rock from a dumb worm. They're scratches on a rock from a smart worm. I know by now, you know I need help. Can you help me with this? Is there some test out there that you can test the IQ of a worm? What am I missing? Oh, look at that, man. That guy was smart. Oh, that boy, he was dumb, man. He spent his whole day on the bottom muck. I mean, come on, it's a worm. It scratches on a rock. It's holes. Fossils are what? Fickle. They'll do what? They'll sing any song you want to hear.